responsibility. It's the idea that the more self-government we have, the less external government we need. We're Americans. We're independent. Unfortunately, some people want to strip us of this identity. They want to make us dependent on the government for everything. They want to make us think that we are entitled to things like healthcare, education, and a lifelong salary. Unfortunately, this kind of idea stifles the American spirit. It makes us change who we innately are. We need to challenge our government to get back to its original principles and to restrict itself to the Constitution. For better or for worse, it's time that we take our responsibility for ourselves back into our own hands.
How about this principle? The sanctity of private property. We believe that what's yours is yours. And even the 8th commandment agrees that thou shalt not steal. So when our officials in government take more and more and more of what's yours through every imaginable tax, for every unimaginable project they can dream up, well, it's time to get some new representatives.
Prosperity, or the principle of sound money. This is the belief that printing more money won't solve our nation's financial problems. We refer to this principle as prosperity because stable currency or sound money is required for prosperity. You probably already know this, but if you or I start running out of money because we overspent, we can't just decide to print more. That would be wrong and you'd probably get us thrown in jail. But you realize that since 1971, that's exactly what our federal government has been doing, printing money as it needs more of it. Doesn't sound logical, does it? Our government needs to stop confusing prosperity with free money.
And next, we have peace, a policy of non-intervention like that of our founders that encourages the right of all men to self-determine. We love our soldiers and believe in a strong military, but make a distinction between a defense policy and a military policy, between congressionally declared wars that repel invasions and foreign military action without congressional authority. We do not want to place our fathers and brothers in harm's way or violate another's right to self-determine. Thomas Jefferson, in his first inaugural address, put it this way: peace, honesty, and commerce with all nations, but entangling alliances with none.
We call happiness. This is about a free market economy. Think of it in the illustration of a lemonade stand. Because you can't have a lemonade stand without a free market. And you can't have a free market where the government controls or manipulates the free market system. So this is how we explain it to our youth. Let's say you love lemonade, and a new lemonade stand opens up on the corner, 25 cents per cup. You stop and buy a cup of lemonade every day. Then one day you get there and the 10-year-old girl selling the lemonade tells you that she's now required to have a permit from the government that costs $50 per month. She has to raise her prices to pay the government. Did the government add 10 times the value to your cup of lemonade? Would you continue to pay $2.50 so the government could get its $50 per month from her? What happens to the little girl's business in a not-so-free market? At I'm Tomorrow, we believe in the power of a free market to drive jobs, prosperity, and the pursuit of happiness.
Justice. It's the idea that our representatives in government should make laws that are just, not just appealing to the majority or popular. The rights to life, liberty, and property can never be taken away. Ever. It's the principle of justice that tells us that when looking to make laws, we should look to the laws of nature and nature's God, not popular opinion. However, if you have a policy that, say, tells you have to buy something, like healthcare, is that a just law? What if Martin Luther King Jr. reminded us that everything Hitler did in Germany was legal? Now here at I Am Tomorrow, we don't advocate changing the law by breaking it, but we do believe that we should break the silence in order to get the law changed. A man by the name of Augustine once said that an unjust law is no law at all.
Liberty, the belief in constitutionally limited government. The Constitution set out clear lines and bright lines to where our government could do and what they could not do. And I think every single one of us in this room could clearly agree that our Constitution has overstepped those boundaries. A recent Gallup poll taken said that 57% of the people that they interviewed said that the government was taking into care too many things, and they were trying to do too many things that should be left to the private sector. That, my friends, is not liberty.
So you've heard a little bit from Mr. Anderson about I'm Tomorrow, and you've heard now all of our 7 principles. And I just want to take a few minutes to share with you I'm Tomorrow's passion, because I think it's really important that you know the heartbeat of our organization and our long-term vision. I'm very passionate about what we're doing, and those who know me know that about me. This passion started back in 2008 when I attended the Voters Value Summit in Washington, D.C. with my patriotic school choir. And as I sat there for 3 days listening to these great conservative speakers, something stirred inside of me. A sense of pride in my country and a sense of urgency that we had to do something now. I came home and I did the only thing I knew to do. I started making phone calls for conservative candidates. I focused on some of the local candidates listed in Mr. Anderson's voter's guide, and I convinced 10 people to vote for them. I was 13 years old, and within a few months, I was sitting around a conference table at 6:30 in the morning with the other I'm Tomorrow founders hammering out a plan for our new organization. Our passion at I'm Tomorrow is alive and stronger than ever, as is our sense of urgency. Ronald Reagan once said, "Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction." And I believe we may be living in that generation. I believe our way of life in this country is literally hanging in the balance. I believe we're at a tipping point where one incident, one crisis, could cause us to wake up tomorrow to a new reality in America. And then what? Would we wake up and ask ourselves, how could we have just gone about our business without doing something? If only we could go back and organize, mobilize. Could we have made a difference? We are engaged in a war, an ideological struggle, not fought on the battlefields, but in the halls of Congress, in the courts of our nation, in our classrooms, our media, our music, and our movies. And now this struggle has taken to the streets here in the United States of America. What do you think will happen with this Occupy Wall Street movement? Do you think it's losing steam and will fizzle out? Or is it gaining momentum? How does something like this end? I'm not a pessimist, I'm a patriot, and that's why I'm speaking to you now. I believe we are to mobilize a nationwide voice of freedom and liberty from young conservative leaders, revolutionaries, willing to speak out against the tyranny and oppression of big government. Not like the useful idiots of an organized progressive agenda bent on taking over our country, but students, armed with ideas, rooted in principles, who can lead us through these challenging times. I believe that we have been called and equipped for such a time as this. I believe that through our voices, our videos, the use of social media, we can raise up and mobilize a force unexpected. All across our nation are silent conservative young people who need an opportunity to make their voices known. I'm Tomorrow is the catalyst for this movement. Throughout our history, the youth of America have led our nation through its greatest struggles. Through world wars, through depression, through a civil rights movement. Where are those youth today? Are they the Occupy Wall Street, as the media would like you to believe? No. They're at school, at work, quietly living the American way of life with no alternative movement to identify with. They're sick of partisan politics. They care about our country, but their professors are preaching communism and socialism with the new name of progressivism. I'm Tomorrow cannot just continue here in San Diego, speaking to like-minded groups. We must take our message to the nation while we still have a chance. I believe I'm Tomorrow could one day be one of the strongest forces in American political ideology. I believe by focusing on principles instead of party politics, we will connect with the youth who want change, but in the context of the Constitution. I believe we will go from doing good things here in our community to doing great things for our country. That's I'm Tomorrow's passion. That's our vision. Now here we are together before the most important election year of our lifetime, and each and every one of us has a choice. We can either all grab hold of this rope and begin to pull with all our might, or we can walk away and hope that there's another youth-based group like this meeting somewhere else in America who can take up the call. If you guys believe what we believe, I hope you will seriously consider supporting us. We can't do this without you, and now is our time. Thank you.
Amen, Audrey.